think it's more about just opening up here and here, right? Listen more, be more open to ideas from those you trust. And yeah, I think it's just being open internally.
Get ready, everyone. We have a co-producer of the upcoming HBO film, The Great Lillian Hall, that you need to make sure to be tuning in to watch on May 31st. We're going to talk about how it's important to be open when it comes to being in the entertainment industry and not being so attached to your dreams, and then how to balance when you're in a relationship and both people are in the entertainment industry. Get ready for a great one. Welcome to Get Scene Unscripted. I'm your host, Jesse Malinowski. We are going to dive into acting insights, meet industry pros, and master the business. Don't forget to subscribe and share. We're keeping you behind the scenes and ahead of the game. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Get Scene Unscripted. I'm your host, Jesse Malinowski, and I'm so glad that you're joining us, whether this is your first time viewing the podcast or you're coming back. Thanks so much for being here. And if you at any moment realize that you are loving this episode, make sure to subscribe to the channel so you can catch all of our incredible interviews with incredible industry pros and leaders in the industry. And before we jump in, I want to give a shout out to a YouTube comment. If you're not checking us out on YouTube, make sure to do that. We have a sister show, Talent Agent Talk, which is hosted by talent agent Jason Lockhart, going over booking stories with actors. So if you're not watching on YouTube, be sure to do that. But Monique Hortman 8794 says, another informative and transparent podcast. Loved it, and it's helping me so much. Thank you, Jesse. Thank you, Monique, for tuning in, and let's dive in. Everyone, today we have a casting director and also producer in the house, Miss Jessica Fox. Jessica, thank you for being here.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
You're so welcome, and I'm excited to talk to you, especially you have some really cool, exciting things going on right now, but you started off casting and kind of, it seems to have also kind of transitioned to producing a bit. So I'd love to know how that transition came about and what are some of the challenges you found? Because I love the idea of producing, and so tell me the things I need to know that I need to be ready for.
Oh, that's a lot. So I transitioned. I just slowly started doing more and more things to assist with the team at Crazy Legs and my husband. And then I was invited to do more and more. And now I'm co-producing the last couple of films and the one that's coming out soon. So it's been a lot of fun. I am not stopping my casting. It's just an adjunct. So I'm doing it in tandem, I guess.
Nice.
Challenges. Probably the biggest one is time management and making sure that you are balancing everything so that one thing isn't sacrificing for the other, which takes a lot of organization and, time management.
Yeah. Is that something that in the past you've struggled with, or have you always been pretty good at it?
No, that's probably one of my strengths, I guess, and probably because I'm so anal, I just, organization's a big thing to me. If you give me a spreadsheet, then I get all giddy. So that's been very helpful, having that kind of baseline. And that's something that has really been helpful with casting. So many people think casting is just the fun part, because I've had interns that say, oh, I want to come intern with you. And they think it's just all day in the callback room with the actors. But that's kind of like the icing on the cake part.
Yeah, it's probably really a small portion.
Very much, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a lot of organization, a lot of data, a lot of communicating. So yeah, that's the fun part, is the audition part.
Right. within the producing, what are some things that you've kind of like really fallen in love with? Because it sounds like, and correct me if I'm wrong, but Scott is kind of like, hey, can you help me with this? Can you help us with
Yeah.
this? And so you kind of got sucked in. What aspects of that, beyond, I guess, the spreadsheets that you're really giddy about, what other aspects have you found like, wow, this is so cool. This is so much fun?
I don't know if there's been like the wow part, because on the casting end, you're kind of exposed to the whole process anyway, because
Right.
with the casting that I've done, you're involved in the pre-production all the way to completion. And then sometimes in post, like if there's things that they needed from talent in the post. So I've seen all of those aspects while doing the casting. So there wasn't anything that I wasn't aware of, but it is incredibly fulfilling because it's a tangible task that you're given. And then, well, I mean, the result is tangible. You're given a task and you complete it, and then it's done, and then we can move on. So I guess it's just those little mini satisfaction moments of satisfaction, right? That you've completed that. Okay, that's done. And now what?
Right. And it's all those puzzle pieces.
Yes.
Yeah.
If you're an actor, you're going to want to hear this. We have our 3-day in-person conference coming up. And if you want to see Atlanta for what it really is, the heart and soul of the Southeast actor market, then you're not going to want to miss this incredible opportunity to be in person and really build your actor community. Just imagine being able to hear exactly what you need to hear to be motivated and inspired and really build that action game plan, if you will, to build the acting career that you really want. And most importantly, if you put the work in, deserve. But I want you to imagine being able to like really feel being around an incredible community, the top industry pros, so you feel like this is what you're truly meant to be doing. And so everyone, this is all going to be happening at our 3-day in-person conference. I'm not going to take too much time from the podcast, so you can head to the comments in the description right now to get more information. And I even left a discount for you. So go check that out now, and I hope to see you at the conference in June.
So you mentioned a film that you guys recently, well, I'm sure you finished it kind of a while ago, but it just sold to HBO, The Great Lillian Hall. Congrats.
It will be in HBO Films.
Yes. Yep. And that's going to be coming out when?
It'll stream on HBO and Max Friday, May 31st at 8 p.m.
Make sure to tune in, everyone.
It's a spectacular film. Yeah, I have to say.
Yes,
but I want to say
so.
it because it really is. Yeah.
I want to talk about that film more, but I want to look like that has to feel like a huge accomplishment.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
So I want to talk about for you. Do you stop for a moment and like see the milestone?
Yeah.
And if you do, how do you do that? And like what? Like, I'm sure you and Scott, like, since you guys are husband and wife, like, it's got to be even more fulfilling doing it together. So, like, how do you, like, acknowledge that achievement and that milestone? Because I think sometimes we forget to do that.
At least for me, I don't know if it's the right or wrong way, but they're little moments, right? Because you can sit in the moment and relish it for a moment, but then there's more to do, right? And for me, I feel like I'm only as good as the last thing I did. There's a saying about you're only as good as the last project you did.
Yeah.
But it's also the last thing you did, because you could do one thing really, really well in this whole, rush kind of process, and then you screw up the next thing. So you always need to stay on top of your game and not sit in that moment too long, because you've got more to do. But I guess some of the moments for us were, when we got the project and we all read it and we were all in tears and we're like, oh my God, we have to do this. And then when it was realization, we are doing this. And then when going through the cast, oh my gosh, we have Jessica Lange. It's like, yay, moving on. Okay, we got Kathy Bates. Yay, moving on. Those little moments. And then on set, it was watching. I think those are the moments that hit you. You're working. And then all of a sudden you're seeing Jessica Lange and Pierce Brosnan or Kathy Bates, Lily Ray, Jesse, all these people on the monitor in Video Village. And every moment you go, oh my God.
You're just like pinching yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. And similar to something I heard from a lot of the actors, there's a day we had to have the theater filled because you don't know this yet. It's a play within the film. Jessica Lange stars as a Broadway legend, and she's performing on Broadway Chekhov's The Cherry Orchard. And there's a day we had to fill the theater up, and then she had to perform. And I heard from all of the actors, like, because I was like, I'm so sorry you're here all day just sitting in the chair. And they're like, you have no idea what it's like to watch the Jessica Lange on stage performing Chekhov.
I know. I was about to say, what do you mean, sorry? Like,
Yeah.
I would have paid you to
I heard that so many times. So that was another wonderful experience about this is the gratitude and the, how do I say it? The appreciation everybody had for those moments, right? You know, everybody wants to be paid for their work and they should be paid for their work. But then to have those people going, oh my God, I would have done this for free, even though they wouldn't.
Right.
You know, it's just that feeling of this is a special project. Yeah.
Yeah. How did you guys go about, like, when you said those, like, mini milestones of like, we got Jessica Lange, oh yay, we got Kathy Bates. How did you guys go about that? Was it just like the script was just so good they wanted to do it, or what was that process like to get such legendary actors?
Well, the five main characters, which again, Jessica Lange, Kathy Bates, Pierce Brosnan, Lily Ray, Jesse Williams, when it comes to those categories, we're all as a team talking about it. You know, one person of the team could be Bruce Cohen, who's an external producer, or Michael Christopher, who's the director, or Scott, or Marie Halliday, who's one of the producers. They may say, well, what about this person? And we all talk about it, we think about it, and then sometimes they're friends of Michael's, so he can say, well, let me give him a call.
Convenient.
Yeah. Well, Michael, like everybody knows Michael.
Yeah.
And then a lot of the reps in LA and New York, you know, they had heard about it, they had read it, and they were emailing me saying, hey, we'd like you to consider this person. Hey, we'd like you to consider this person. So there were several weeks there where we were just getting inundated from all of these amazing people being submitted for all consideration.
That's awesome. And then I know that you mentioned, some of them talking about the Atlanta talent, and obviously you're going to be a big fan of the Atlanta talent.
Yeah.
How was kind of casting the whole film and just bringing it all together?
Rewarding, I think, is the biggest word that comes to mind. It was a process. We had, I think it was 26 roles that were local Southeastern talent, and every single role had a scene with Jessica Lange.
Wow.
So it wasn't like we were casting somebody that was just a small little blip that, you know, somebody walking down the street or whatever. Every single role had on-camera time with Jessica
They needed
Lange.
to bring it.
So that, yes, it was vital that the person playing opposite her in each and every scene could be authentic in their performance. So we had more submissions than I had ever received on any of the other films
Really?
I've done. I think it was over 9,000 submissions, because we had New York, Los Angeles, and Atlanta.
So wait, 9,000 submissions. What did you say? It was 23 roles?
26.
26 roles. 26 roles and 9,000 submissions.
9,000 submissions. And because I have a major FOMO, I requested a lot
Really?
of tapes. I just was worried about missing out on that one. I mean, I could sit here and think of, because I've cast an enormous amount of people from Atlanta, so I was very familiar with the talent here. And I could just say, oh, let's just do this person. But I was like, wow, I really need to do justice to the producers and the director and the film and Jessica and all these other people. I need to make sure I am really thoroughly finding the best person for this role. So yeah, I requested a lot of tapes and then narrowed that down to send to Michael. And then he'd say, okay, I want to see this person. I want to see this person. And we call him in for callbacks. And then he'd say, well, no, let's go in this direction. So he would, as he's watching the performances, he would maybe tweak a little bit what he was looking for in some of the characters. So then I'd say, oh, okay, well then let's look at these people. And we bring, a couple of more in.
I love that you bring that point up too, because it's just another reminder. And I think this helps for actors that those things kind of shift, and it's not that they did anything wrong. It's that the how to tell the story the best way. The vision kind of changed a little bit. And so it's just so important for actors. Like, remember, like, you're doing a great job and continue to want to grow and get better. Like, don't be stagnant.
Yeah.
But like, we so often get in our own way and we beat ourselves up. And it's like, if you can live in a place where you're like, no, I did a great job and I feel good about what I did. And they just went into a different direction and that's fine. But it's like, it's just another story of how this is happening behind the scenes.
Yeah. We were, one of the many, many blessings we had on this project was Michael, who's our wonderful director. He just, the thing that he created was just amazing. But he is an accomplished actor as well. He has a heart for actors. And what would happen is there was one particular role, I won't say what it was, but the guys were coming in and performing it in the way he had first, because I'll backtrack. I'll write descriptions of the characters based on the script. And then the director, and this is for any project, I'll have them review that and they'll say, well, I'm kind of looking for this, or maybe this is a little different from the script. This is the idea I have. So we'll tweak it, and that's the descriptions that will go out. So the actors are coming in, performing based on that description. And then Michael's like, oh, it's not doing it for me. The guys are great. The talent is there. It has nothing to do with the talent. And he goes, but that's not quite hitting what I have in my head. And so then he tweaked it a little bit and the performances changed. So we had other actors come in, and then finally our final actor that came in, he was like, that's it. That is it.
Do you think that there's an advantage or disadvantage when you're like maybe in a callback scenario of coming in first to coming in last because the director is kind of figuring it out?
I mean, on the surface, you could say yes, but if there's something that's hitting it with that first actor,
that's true, right?
And that's it.
Yeah, that's such a good point.
Yeah.
Like if the actor hits it, right, that now you have to live up to that expectation of like, oh my God, I loved him or her.
Yeah.
All right, so I think we've gone over a bunch of stuff, but in your opinion, why do we need to watch this movie on HBO? Why do we need to stream this thing at the end of the week here?
Well, one, because I love it. It's just the performances. This is a performance-driven film. It's beautifully shot under Michael's direction, and then Simon Dennis was the cinematographer. It was just gorgeous. And then we had the costume, Amelia Soso and Ina Mayhew with the production design. I mean, every single department, every crew member, and every actor, to me, was doing the best that they have done. I mean, maybe they'd argue and say, well, I've done better. But in my opinion, everybody was bringing their A game, and it translates on scene. And then the story itself has a lot of heart. I think that there is something in it that most everyone can relate to. It deals with relationships, mother and daughter, lifelong friends, husband and wife. There's a love story mixed in there. And then the individual challenges and the triumph of overcoming those challenges. And then if you're in our line of work, I think, especially theater, I think you'll really relate to it.
Oh, yeah, I bet. I mean, you talked about the performances first. I mean, before we started, you said HBO was like, man, the performances of just everybody in this film are just
Yeah.
unbelievable.
Yeah.
And
That was
that's,
wonderful to hear.
I know. I mean, and that's such a,
Kudos to the Atlanta actors.
I mean, and that's such a big applause to you too. I mean, you cast
Oh,
everyone.
yeah.
You know, going back to that, you said you had like FOMO. You were like wanted to make sure that you saw everyone. Were there any cases that you were like, oh my gosh, thank God I did that. I found so and so, or were you like, no, my maybe like go-to instincts were kind of right because you did know a lot of the talent. Like, did a lot of the people that you maybe originally thought of get roles, or it really truly was going through the whole process?
A good chunk of them, yes, for sure. The people that I had envisioned were a part of the film. Sometimes there's somebody that I had thought for one character, and then Michael moved it around because there's the cast of the Cherry Orchard. I think it was like 8 or 11, I forget. And some of those he wanted to move around a little bit. But then there was a few others just because the description of the character changed. There's actually 2 to come to mind where the description of the character changed as we were watching performances. Yeah, so those I didn't expect.
Right, right. That's so cool. Well, I can't wait to see it. And everyone, make sure you set you're not setting DVRs anymore, but put it on your schedule.
Yeah.
So you mentioned your husband Scott, and he's the COO of Crazy Legs Productions, and I feel like because I want to talk about relationships for a second, because
Okay.
I think actors, they're either like, I need to find somebody else that's in the industry so they can understand the like complete kind of craziness and insanity of it.
Mm.
And then other people are like, I can't date someone in the industry if my life depended on it. So how is that for you guys? Do you think that's like super helpful because you guys get it? Like, how do you guys support each other and balance the entertainment industry and both of you being in it? I mean, kind of 24/7.
Yeah. Great question. I think it's probably different for actors, so I can't really speak to that. If you're both having to go through that stress of wanting to get a job, trying to get a job, and then maybe getting it and not getting it, that is something a little different.
But I feel like casting goes through that. I mean, productions
yeah,
go
but
through
we're
that.
both not casting directors.
Yeah, yeah.
So I think that is different, It is, to me, it's helpful that we're both in the same industry because we can have discussions about even more things where we can relate and we can have a dialogue about it. There is a balancing act to it, and it's something that was a little bit of a learning curve in the beginning. This is going years and years ago for us, and that is he has to shut off at a certain point work talk. And for me, I was like,
That's how I am. That's like Candy is like, let's shut it off. And I'm like, but we connected on, yeah.
And so I had to respect that because I wanted to respect that and then learn about that. And then I realized that he wasn't just right for him. He was right for me as well. I didn't realize how I needed that. I was just used to talking all the time about stuff and the industry, and it was healthy for me as well. So it's been nice when we can, because sometimes, with this transition right now, sending it to HBO Films, there's a lot of stuff that goes way after hours, but on a typical day of having to shut down and then just reconnect, human to human about other things other than work has been very, very helpful.
What is there anything that you could share on like other things that you guys have found that you connect on, or like how did you discover that? Because I feel like it sounds like we're a little similar, and like I love the business, so like let's talk about that. But yeah, it's important to find those other things, but it could be challenging for some people. How did you kind of discover some of those other things?
Well, I think we've got a little bit of an advantage. We've known each other since we were 6.
Whoa, really?
So, yeah. So we grew up together. And so there's just so much that we can talk about. And one of the things that we connected on early on in our childhood was we were both very curious about the world. And so we ask a lot of questions. We're very much into self-improvement and evolvement and spirituality. And so there's really an unlimited amount of things that we can talk about. And then we share 5 kids. So there's a lot to talk about. And then part of the balancing is we both love our own quiet time, and we don't feel there's no guilt there, because it's not like we're taking it personally, because we both understand it, and we're able to have that quiet time even in the same room. We can sit on the back porch literally for hours on a day that's lucky enough to have that on a weekend or something, and be doing our own thing and not talking, but we just enjoy being in each other's presence, but not like sharing the energy back and forth because we're trying to decompress or whatever.
Yeah. And it's that balance, that balance
Yeah.
is important. What have you discovered about yourself in finding better balance within that? Because I think some people, I don't know, I feel like I struggle with it sometimes. Sometimes I'm like, oh, like I like this, so like why do something else? If that makes sense. Like if I like this and I want to put my time and energy into it, like why not, kind of. So what have you kind of discovered in saying, no, I'm going to really push this balance of like not putting all of my eggs in this basket, if you will? What have you kind of discovered about yourself?
Well, that the task that Scott will give to me, and now Marie Halliday, who's Scott's head of feature development, she and I work together a lot on the development side. It's been nice that I have to trust that they know me, right? Because they will turn things over to me, and sometimes I'll be like, oh, I don't know if I can do that. And then I'm like, oh, yeah, I nailed that, And so it's trusting the people that know me to know me sometimes better than I know myself, and then I learn to know that part of myself even better, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Now that you're, like you said, being in casting, it allows you to kind of be part of the whole production, really from start to finish in a lot of ways. Were there any like big lessons when kind of moving into the producing side that you got from casting, or vice versa now that maybe is going to serve you into the future?
Boy, it sounds horrible to be blank thinking about the lessons. I think it's watching and listening and knowing that everybody is going through some sort of stress or pressure in their own bubble, right? And
Yes.
not allowing my stresses, and this is a daily thing a continual thing that I work on, but not allowing my stresses to become their stresses, and not allowing their stresses to become my stresses. And, taking it on, you can help and assist to get someone through a struggle, but not to take it on like, okay, now it's my struggle, and vice versa.
I love that so much, because I think sometimes we forget about that because we're going through life, obviously, and I don't mean this in a negative way, but we think about it very selfishly. It's like, it's the things I need to do, and I have to deal with my problems, or I have my goals, and like every single person is doing the exact same thing.
Yeah.
And so, if they have a stress or they're dealing with something, we always make it about us. Why did they treat me that way? Why don't they like me? But it's like, it's just never about you.
Right. I think that's something that I don't know if I've met anybody who's mastered that. I certainly have not mastered that. So it's just a consistent thing that I think as I've gotten older, I'm able to stop myself and remind myself of those things, right? And just giving everyone, including yourself, more grace. Like it's okay. It's all
Yeah.
right, and just keep going and trying to find the resolution, the solve, or whatever it is.
Yeah, absolutely. So now that you've now that you're co-producer on this film that's coming out, The Great Lillian Hall on HBO and Max and all that, has that ignited you to be like, yes, I love producing, or maybe open your eyes to be like, I want to do some other aspects of things within the entertainment business?
I love producing, and because it uses so much of my natural skill sets that I feel accomplished, which is good. When I want to do anything else, I don't know. I mean, these two things are pretty satisfying.
That's awesome.
So, yeah.
When you were in casting, did you think prior that you wanted to do producing?
There were moments like I would have it, but it was not in my early days. I started casting. Oh, this is really going to date me. In the mid '80s, and so the exposure to the producing side wasn't there. And then for a couple of decades, I managed a live performer and helped produce things on that end. So I already had a lot of those things in the works way back then. But when it comes to film producing, it was after being more exposed to Scott and Marie, and then Tom Capella, who's the CEO of Crazy Legs, all of his projects. Then it was like, oh, I kind of like this, So yeah.
How can someone else in the entertainment industry, I mean, I feel like it's like, in this case, it's like you were surrounded by a great group of people at Crazy Legs, right? And so it's like, I feel like a through line comes up on this show, which is just like, be open to change, like be open to other opportunities.
Yeah.
And so I guess I'm trying to like figure out like, how can someone else open up more opportunities for themselves, do you think? In your case, it was like you were around, it was like a good group of people that you're around, but maybe if someone feels like they don't have that, what do you think they can do to open up maybe more opportunities for them?
I think it's more about just opening up here and here, right? Listen more, be more open to ideas from those you trust. And yeah, I think it's just being open internally.
Yeah.
And then you can, be more open to ideas outside.
Yeah, I think that's such a good point. Like, because the probably one of the issues is, if you take like an actor, for example, it's just like, I will be an actor, and that you're not open to anything else potentially, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think that openness is like, so like, I just think that's like so spot on. It seems kind of general, but it's like not.
Yeah.
It's like, be open to like other things that could happen for you and to you.
I'm wondering now that you're even just saying that, if it's more of sometimes that can be a hindrance is the over attachment to a dream. The one thing that's happened to me, especially personally, something that happened more recently, is the older I've gotten, the less expectations I'm putting on things. And that has reduced my stress and made life more enjoyable. I think when I was younger, I put a lot of expectations on things. And I think maybe people could do that with a dream. Like, I have a dream of being an actor and getting an Academy Award or working with all of these people. And if the attachment to that is too strong, that may be closing you off. That might be leaving you less open and available to other things that you may find enormous fulfillment to have even more success.
That's so powerful. And I think, for some reason that made me think of, there's a man named Vision Lakiani, and he has something called Mind Valley. It's like a online like teaching school. And he talked about how he did this thing where he like wrote down all of these goals and these dreams that he had. And one of the things that he had was like, and I want to win an Academy Award. He's not even an actor, like
Oh,
hasn't
wow.
produced a movie, but for some reason he wrote it down. And not long after, there was a documentary about some of the stuff that his school was doing, and it won an Academy Award.
Wow.
And he ended up, because it was his, he was obviously a producer on the film and then won. And so it's just like, I for some reason I thought of that, because it's like, he had no idea how it was going to come his way, but he's just like, you know what, but I'm open to however it comes, right? I'm just open to it. And so I think being able to open up those dreams that you mentioned, right? Like you might have this dream, but like, how can you just open it up? How can it happen in a way that you never dreamt it up? Like you can still get there, but it's in a way you never could have imagined.
Yeah. But part of that, because I know the theory that you're talking about and the process that you're talking about, I'm very familiar with that. But one of the keys to that process is not having an attachment to those things. I am a full believer in putting down things that you want to have happen, manifesting, however you want to term it. But then you also have to let go of the attachment. There's a difference in letting go of a dream and letting go of an attachment to a dream. And I think that's key. Because I bet you that guy wasn't thinking every day, I want to win an Academy Award. I want to win an Academy Award. He put it down on his list, and he probably thought about it and maybe did some work towards it. But he probably didn't have an attachment to it.
Right. That's so powerful. I loved what you said. It's such a powerful quote. And I know you just said it, but I feel like I'm going to botch it. But you said there's a difference of like letting go of the dream and letting go of the attachment to the dream.
Correct. Yeah.
So good. Can you elaborate on that a little bit more for someone that's maybe feeling a little unclear and maybe needs to let go of the attachment?
I will do my best.
You're going to crush it. I know it. Get Scene Studios was founded in helping connect actors with industry pros. We bring in the top Southeast agents and casting directors to really help you get seen by the people that matter. And we really focus this on two different ways, everyone. In one of our signature in-person classes or workshops called the Get Seen 360, you get to have a self-tape evaluated. Then you get to work on the callback, and then you also work on a cold read. You spend 5 hours with an industry pro in the Get Seen 360. And then for our online class, and this signature workshop we have is called the Perfect Submission. And this mimics the Actors Access submission process, where you send in a headshot, a self-tape, and a demo reel or clip. And so this is an incredible way to really get feedback on what that submission is looking like. And so everyone, as a thank you for listening, every single month we're going to choose one winner, and you get to choose one of these classes. Any class that you want will be absolutely free, and this will be our way of saying thank you so much. So all you got to do is head to the pinned comment below, put in your name and email, and you will be entered to win. All you got to do is put in your email one time, and you will live there forever, which means if you submit this month, you could win 3 months from now, 4 months from now. So go ahead and head to that pinned comment now, and good luck.
Let's go kind of micro about it, and let's say there's an actor who's auditioning for a role. And let's say it's the biggest role they've ever had, and they're excited because they went through the taping process and they got whittled down to like 4 people to come back into the callback room. Somebody who has too much attachment to it, that increases the stress enormously. It also, to me, brings a negative energy to it. I don't know how, but there is a negative energy that kind of comes with it because it's the desperation joins with that attachment. And so when somebody comes into the room, I'd say 8 out of 10 times we can see it, we can smell it. And it's like tight, right? And so when somebody comes in and they want it and they feel good about it, but they're not attaching themselves to it, there's a lightness about it. You know, they're looser, they're more open, their energy's brighter. So I think that's the best way I can describe that.
Yeah. I love that. So powerful. So good.
Yeah. Because if it's meant to be, it's meant to be. And that's so tried, I know, but I don't know. I firmly believe that, you know, the right person's going to have the role for the right reasons. It may not even be the reasons you think. You may say, oh, I got that role because I was meant to play blah, whatever. But it could be that you're meant to have that role because there is somebody you're going to meet on set afterwards talking about it that you're going to have some kind of positive effect on. It may have nothing to do with the ego, the accolade, the notoriety of you getting that role. It could have something completely different. It may be a small conversation that you have on set with a crew member at lunch that was more meaningful than what it did for your career.
Oh my gosh, that makes me think of we have our mentorship where actors get to work one-on-one with a working actor. And one of our mentors is Charlene Amoya. She booked The Resident, and not to go into the whole story, but the whole story within The Resident of the role that she booked happened to be during a very kind of like trials and tribulation moment in her life that she was like really struggling with and going through. And she talked about how that booking like legitimately like healed her.
That's
and
beautiful.
and when she talks about the story, I'm like, no one else had a chance. Like no, and I feel like any other actor, like, you know, the actors that were like right there and they're like, dang, I wish I booked it. If they heard the story too, they're like, I don't even want it. Like, please give it to Charlene. And it's like, I feel like the longer you're in the business, the more stories you kind of hear like that, where you're just like, that was for you.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. And I think just like trusting that is going to like serve you in such a better way. And you get to make the choice, right? You can make the choice to say like, yeah, that's awesome for someone else, or be like, oh, I wish it was me.
Yeah.
And it's like, which one is going to like give you the happier, stress-free life? Like you get to make the choice which way you want to be thinking.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. The people that complain and are bitter and stuff, they're just going to keep attracting more of that energy towards themselves.
Yeah. Well, Jessica, I've loved this so much, but it does bring us to our spotlight sign off. 5 questions to end strong.
Oh God. Okay.
Question number 1 is, what's something you're super grateful for today?
This is going to be very general, but it's true. It's my life that contains my family, my health, my career, my friends, all of it. I'm grateful for all of it right now.
You know, that is general, but I think that that's something that we can easily overlook. It's just like, wow, like I'm here. We've obviously been talking about the movie, like just hit this accomplishment. I'm doing it with my husband. Like, I mean, life, like just really looking at everything, it can be overlooked so easily. So I love it.
Okay. All right. What's next?
What's next is, what is a movie, TV show, book, or event that changed the trajectory of your life?
I'm going to be horrible at this one, because anytime, and it's not just you, anytime I'm asked, oh, what's your favorite movie? What's your favorite book? Or what's your favorite this or that? I go blank. So not going to work.
All right, hold on. If you did know the answer, what would it be?
Oh, I know that trick, Jesse. Oh my God. Do you take NLP?
I do.
I did too.
Really? That's awesome.
So
it could be that event.
No, not enough. Not enough. Oh my gosh. I don't know. No, I'm blank. Sorry.
Like, it's like, what is, there's got to be a moment that, you're like, if that happens differently, the life changes. You know what I mean? A conversation, a connection.
Well, the first thing that pops in my mind is, because it's pertaining to what's happening right now, is, and it happened during the pandemic, is when so much was going on and Scott was trying to keep everybody employed, which kudos to him. During the pandemic, he was able to keep everybody employed, and production going.
Wow, that's
But
incredible.
at that same time, we were in development on a film, and he was like, "Hey, can you help me with this? Can you help me with that?" And then, him liking what I was doing, that changed the trajectory. So, yeah, I guess that would be the first thing that comes to mind.
Look at that, everyone. Just like that, she did know the answer.
Right. NLP at work.
Is there something within your routine, your daily routine, that you really like love and cherish?
This is really silly, but in the morning we have a routine with our coffee.
The coffee is always good.
Scott is the expert at making the coffee exactly how I like it, my cup. So he has my coffee, and then we go out on the porch, and again, we're doing our own thing, but we're together and we're quiet. I like starting off the morning like that.
What is the like special? Is there like a special way to make it, or he just like has the
I
measurements
don't know.
right?
He has the measurement correct with the sweetener and the creamer and the coffee, and he just always makes it perfect. So.
I love it. Good job, hubby. Good
Yeah.
job. What is something you're currently working on improving in your life?
Well, I feel like everything is a flow, right? There isn't anything I stop working on. I'm like, oh, I got it, right? Because the minute you say that, then you're going to be proved that you haven't gotten it. So I think it's just consistently managing the time and the time management, and stress, and knowing, paying attention to how I'm feeling, paying attention to how Scott is feeling, and being open to adjusting to those needs. So yeah.
That's awesome. All right, last question, Miss Jessica Fox, and
Okay.
it is this. We've gone over a bunch of stuff, so it might be something in the conversation we already had, or it might be something completely different. But if you wanted to make sure the listeners got one piece of advice from this episode, what would you want them to get?
Probably about the attachment. Yeah. Being able to dream and want and shoot for things, but not being attached to the outcome.
Yeah, I love that. So good. So powerful. Thank you so much for being here. It was awesome.
We finally did it.
We-
Oh my gosh.
We did it. And then is there any other quick last things that we want to tell everyone about the Great Lillian Hall and tuning in? Tell us what we need to do.
Have Kleenex.
Oh, have Kleenex.
Yeah.
All right. Well, everyone, you heard it. Make sure you have your Kleenex ready. May 31st, the Great Lillian Hall on HBO and streaming on Max. Do not miss it. Everyone, give it up for Jessica. Thank you so much again for being here.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
You're so welcome. Everyone, if you haven't subscribed already, make sure to do so. And if you haven't left us a review, please do so. That helps us with the podcast so much. Let us know. Give us that 5-star review and let us know how this is impacting your journey. Thanks again for being here. Make sure to watch the movie, and we'll see you soon.